Well, we've got what's trending in the NFL right now, and that's franchise tags. Now remember, these numbers apply to first-time tags only. So someone like Dak Prescott would be making more if he does get tagged for a second time. You see the quarterback numbers at $24.1 million, and a swift dropped off to the DN position at $17.8, all the way down to the tight ends and the special teams at the bottom of the list. At the top of our list, our man Jason Lockenfor. JLC, today's the day teams are able to place that franchise tag or transition tender on their respective free agents. So we're going to play a little game, tag or no tag. And we're going to focus on players who get after the quarterback not named Shaq Barrett. So we're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens and Ngakoue. So it might actually not be too likely. The reason he was even in Baltimore was because his refusal to play on the franchise tag in Jacksonville. We also got Matthew Judon here, who negotiated a reverse franchise tag number for 2020. So how do you see this one playing out in Baltimore?
Oh, it's not going to be Ngakoue, I can tell you that much. A for effort, but an F for execution in terms of that trade. He didn't really fit in the scheme. He didn't make an impact pass rushing at all. In fact, all the Ravens pass rushing metrics went way down after the trade versus what was going on there beforehand. He can't play the run. He only played 33% of the snaps. And in the playoffs against Buffalo, where all Buffalo did was throw, so he didn't have to set the edge, he still only played 20 snaps. The coaches told you what they thought right there. I can't see him being back on a tag. Matthew Judon, tagging him 2 years in a row would cost over $20 million. It would give Judon almost $38 million for just 2 years of service. But the Ravens have no edge players under contract right now outside of Jalen Ferguson, who's starting to look like a draft bust. So it is an acute position of need. He does everything in that scheme. He does set the edge. He has a little interior pass rush. He has exterior pass rush. He drops back in coverage. He is arguably the most important player on their defense. So would I be stunned to see them tag him a second time? I frankly wouldn't, even though it would absolutely limit their ability to do some other things. He's much more integral to what they're trying to do defensively than Ngakoue was.
Most important player on their defense. Wow. All right, next up, tag or no tag. We're going to do Leonard Williams for the New York Giants. His second franchise tag would be for Williams. It would cost around $19.35 million in 2021. JLC, do you think the Giants will look to extend him to a long-term offer, or do you think they're going to try to retain him in a different way?
Well, they're working on it. The problem now is when you're the player, you don't have a whole lot of inclination or motivation to do that long-term deal, especially him. You get tagged the second time, you're locked in at that price point. Or if they don't tag you, you get to see for yourself in all its glory what unrestricted free agency can be. I can't imagine the Giants letting him get to the market. They made the trade for him initially. It was controversial. They doubled down on the trade after he didn't make an immediate impact with the team to secure his rights and franchise tag him in a year in which nobody thought the New York Giants were going anywhere in their first year under Joe Judge. He had a monster season. He looks like a perfect fit in that defense. He was a perfect fit in that defense. And they have nobody else who really gets home and can make the quarterback uncomfortable. I can't see Dave Gettleman developing this player, doing it under duress, and then letting him hit the market when the Giants don't have other mouths to feed. They don't have a roster that has, is overflowing with third and fourth year players who need to get paid right now. I don't see him leaving the building. I know they're throwing money his way, trying to get a long-term deal done in these next 2 weeks so they don't have to tag him. I think ultimately they will tag him if that's what's necessary to keep him in the building.
Someone else who's had a monster season, especially at the end of the year, was Haason Reddick. We're going to head to Arizona next. So the Cardinals' 2017 first-round pick went on an absolute tear in those final 4 weeks of this season. So what do you think, tag or no tag?
This one's tricky because they had the player. They used him in sort of a bizarre way early in his career. He wasn't a scheme fit at all. They weren't really just letting him pass rush. And he was available for years. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option. So they were hedging their bets, and then he goes out and has an absolutely monster year getting after the quarterback. I think this one's tied to Chandler Jones. And do they find trade value for a Chandler Jones, in which case you take some of that money that you would save in that trade, put it into Reddick, and you still have something left over to continue to fortify your edge rush. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about them going right out and setting the tag. and they may want to spend their money on someone who's a little more established and not maybe potentially a one-year wonder. But I'd keep an eye on the Chandler Jones situation there as well.
All right, we got about a minute left. We're going to go to Carl Lawson of the Cincinnati Bengals. He emerged as one of the top edge rushers, but 2020 was his first season of playing over 500 snaps. Do you think the Bengals want to see a repeat performance before agreeing to a multi-year extension with him?
I think Lawson is going to get tagged. If he doesn't get tagged, he will do very well in the open market. He flashed a lot of ability early in his career. He had an injury that set him back. This was his first full year back to being himself. And you really saw in the second half of the year his pressure rates. What he was able to do with not a lot of other guys in that defensive line you had to worry about was pretty impressive. You look at that defense right now, the roster is devoid of talent on the defensive side of the ball. I can't see them letting a young emerging pass rusher get away when they are going to move off of Geno Atkins, when they already moved off of Carlos Dunlap with the in-season trade to Seattle. And there's only so many draft picks to go around. They need help at linebacker. They need help on the edge. They need help interior defensive line. They need help in the secondary, especially if they lose William Jackson, their top corner, and I think they will. I don't see how they don't tag Lawson.
Remember, that tag window runs through March 9th, and teams may only use one tender per offseason. JLC, thanks so much for your time.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.